Hi everyone, I'm attorney Lillian Chukura from Lily Legal, where I help my clients get immigration status and reunify with their families. So today I'm going to be talking about the VAWA and how there's so many myths about it and what you need to know so that you don't fall into the trap of thinking you don't qualify, because that's number one. Okay, we want to make sure that if you qualify, that you are actually getting status. Okay, don't let these myths be the reason that you lack status in the US. Okay, hi Akia, nice to see you. So the first myth we're going to bust today about VAWA is that only women can apply. So although it's called Violence Against Women Act, it's really not just about women. Okay, men, women, and children can apply. There's no limit. If you are in an abusive relationship, if you are married and there is mistreatment from a US citizen or permanent resident, this applies to you. It doesn't matter if you are the man in the relationship or if you are the woman in the relationship. It doesn't matter if you're in the same sex couple relationship. This applies to you. So that's the number one myth that I want to bust today, is that it does not just apply to women. Okay? The second myth is that only physical violence counts, only physical abuse counts. You can only apply for this if your wife, your husband, your child, your parent hits you. No, that's not how it works. Okay. It's not just about physical abuse. There's emotional, there's economic, there's immigration abuse. Like, let's really think about all the ways that you are mistreated in your relationship. And that could lead to a finding of abuse if it rises to a level that is seen as extreme. Okay. So this includes when your spouse is basically putting you down because you don't have status, or making it impossible for you to socialize with other people, checking your Facebook, checking your text messages, right? All those things can rise to the level of abuse. But because a lot of people only see abuse as physical violence, when someone actually hits you, that's not all we're talking about when we're talking about VAWA. And Congress has made it possible for you to get status even if your spouse never hits you. But they put down the way you look, they put down how you parent, they put you down because you don't have immigration status. They keep saying, oh, well, I was going to file for you to get status, but you're not doing what I want you to do. But you're not giving me all the money you're making. But you're not doing X, you're not doing Y. So all those things can rise to the level that is needed for you to actually be able to gain status in the US. But because there's so much confusion and so much myth around this, people really think that it's all about physical abuse. And I just want you to know that it is not all about physical abuse. Okay? So that's the second myth. It's not just physical abuse that counts. We need to forget that and look at your entire relationship and any mistreatment that you have received and see if it rises to the level that could actually lead to you being able to get status in the US. Okay? So the third one is you must get divorced. I hear this all the time when people come to me and they want to file, but they still want to stay with their spouse because of their children or for any other reasons. And one thing that I want to let you know is this particular thing, it doesn't require you to get a divorce. It's not required. You can stay married to the person, and because there was mistreatment in your marriage, whether it's ongoing or it was in the past, you can still apply to gain status, even if they don't want to file for you directly. There is an option for you. So you don't have to stay, you don't have to get divorced. And along with that, let's talk about the next one. You don't have to live with the person, right? So let's say you're married to a US citizen. You had a marriage for 2 years, everything was fine, and then there was mistreatment in there. You decide to leave the marital home. Can you still apply? And the answer is yes. Even if you don't live in the same household anymore, if you're still married, if you've only been divorced, let's say for 2 years, right? If you've been divorced less than 2 years, you can still apply. If you don't live in the same household, but you did at some point when the abuse was happening, you can still apply. So that's another myth that I really want to get to you guys, that you don't have to stay, not only do you not have to stay in the relationship, you don't have to stay in the same household as the person in order to apply, even if you're still married. Okay? So the next one is you must stay married. No. So like I said, you don't have to get divorced, but you also don't have to stay married to the person in order to apply for this. There is a little bit of a caveat to this one. You have to file within 2 years of that divorce. Okay? If you decide to get divorced, you have to file within 2 years. Or if you decide to not get divorced, you can still apply. Okay? So there's nothing stopping you from applying for this if you decide to leave your spouse and get a divorce, as long as you file within 2 years of that divorce. Okay, so that's a very important part of this, is that you have to file within 2 years. So if you feel that you're getting to that point and you're not sure if you qualify, please feel free to reach out, and I'm happy to schedule a consultation with you where I will go over what you have been through, the type of mistreatments you've been through, and see if you qualify and what the next steps for you could potentially be. Okay, so if you have any questions, please, as always, feel free to ask in the comments, and I will always respond, because that's what I'm here for. That's why we have this page. That's why I have this community, because I want to make sure that your questions are being answered and that you are in the best position to get status in the US. Okay? So I'm just going to go over the myths again and make sure that you are clear on the things that do not apply when it comes to you being able to get status due to mistreatment, either from your US citizen or permanent resident spouse, parent, or child. Okay, so this does not just apply to married people. This applies if you are if you do not have status, but your child has status and your child has mistreated you. If your parents have status and your parents has mistreated you, you can also get status under this. And this is a great thing, even if you overstay your status, even if you came in without status, you can still apply for this in the United States without having to leave and deal with the embassy. Everything gets taken care of in the US, and you get status right here without ever having to leave. So the first thing is, only women can apply. That is false. Like I said, this applies to men, women. It also applies to people that are not married, so parents and children. So children, if your parents are US citizen or permanent resident and they have mistreated you and have not filed for you to get status in the US, this can apply to you. You can gain status through this act. If you are a parent of a US citizen or permanent resident that's over 21, again, you can apply for status if they have mistreated you. And then if you are married to a US citizen or permanent resident and you have suffered some form of mistreatment, you qualify. Okay, so those are the people that qualify. It is not just for women. Okay, so the next thing is physical abuse. So no, 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 no. This applies to all forms of abuse. Okay, we're not just talking about when your spouse hits you, when your parent hits you. Those do count as forms of abuse and mistreatment, but they are not the only forms of abuse or mistreatment. Again, the things that could count is putting you down for not having immigration status, putting you down for not speaking English well enough, not being a good parent, threatening to take your child away from you just because you don't have immigration status. All those things lead to someone being abused, but because of sometimes cultural differences, we think that it has to be physical abuse, but it does not. So if you are not sure if the mistreatment you have suffered rises to this level that you are able to gain status in the US, please feel free to reach out for a consultation, because we can really dive in and see what mistreatment you've been through and what you could qualify for. Okay, so the next ones are, you have to get divorced. No, you can stay married to the person and still be able to apply for VAWA. Okay, you must stay married. No, you can get divorced as long as you file within 2 years of that divorce, you will still qualify. And then finally, you have to live with your spouse while you apply. Again, that is false. If you choose to leave the marital home, that does not disqualify you from applying. You can still apply whether you're living with your spouse, whether you're living with your parent or your child. It does not matter. What matters is that the abuse happened while you were in the relationship and that you lived together at some point in that relationship. Okay, those are the myths, and I hope I have given you more information that will lead you to make a better decision about your immigration journey. So if you have any questions, if you have any questions about this or any other immigration issues, please feel free to reach out to me, and I am happy to meet with you and see what you qualify for and get you started on your journey to gaining a green card in the US. Okay, thank you so much for your time, and I will be back soon to give you more immigration information. Bye for now.